Hi, this is Tracy with the Limelight Pet Project, and today we are at Motley Zoo Animal Rescue in Redmond with Jamie Thomas, the rescue's executive director. And who do we have for adoption today?
Today we have Tia and Tamara, and they're a bonded pair of black kitties that are about 4 months old.
Now, I happen to love black kitties. I have one at home, and these two certainly do not disappoint. How would you describe each of their personalities?
Well, Tia's definitely a little bit more outgoing and courageous, so she's the first out and to explore. And then Tamara sees what she's doing and she follows, and so she's curious too, just a little more timid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love how you describe Tia as being the more outgoing one. Everywhere she goes, she seems to prance.
Yes, she does.
And she seems confident.
And her tail's always up and kind of doing this funny little arc. She's very regal looking.
Mm-hmm. And they're both black cats, but they look very different from each other.
Yes, Tia is very sleek and kind of slender, and then Tamara has kind of wispy, fluffier hair with these white little ticking marks. So she almost looks like she's got ghost tabby stripes going on.
Now, how did these two come to the rescue?
So they were a pretty sad case. They were found abandoned at about 6 to 8 weeks of age, and they were very, very sick. And so it took a lot of, love and care from our foster home to get them to a point where they're healthy now. But Tia does have a condition called pectus excavatum, and it means that her rib cage is slightly deformed and concave, so it's pushing kind of into her heart.
Is this something that an adopter should be concerned about, or is it just something that she has and it doesn't really impact her life?
So it's not something to be concerned about. It's definitely something to be aware of. It can worsen over time, but hers is mild to moderate, and we've had other cats that have had this that live relatively normal lives. So her heart could become slightly enlarged or pressed against the chest, but it definitely doesn't affect her at this point.
No.
And it's really a pretty minor thing.
Yeah, and I've heard of quite a few other cats having this condition, so it's not incredibly uncommon.
No, and it's not like the problem that becomes this ongoing expense or whatever. Like this is just how she is. You know, this is her thing, and it may slightly shorten her life, but she should live a really relatively normal life.
Yeah. So if they could talk, how would they describe their perfect day?
Their perfect day would be napping and playing. I mean, they're very curious, so they like to explore, but they love the fishing pole toys and the bells and the feathers, and yeah, so they're a little bit of both. They snuggle with each other more than they snuggle with people.
Yeah. And in their current foster home, I understand that they also live with a dog. How do they interact with the dog?
Yeah, they're pretty good. They don't really mind the dog. The dog's really gentle, so he doesn't bother them. So they get along pretty well, and they go about their business, and he hangs out with, just lets them climb around. And,
that's so wonderful for them. So if you were thinking of what their ideal living situation would be like, another cat would be okay, a dog would be okay.
Yeah, so they're okay with other animals. I mean, they're gonna bond and play with each other, probably most, but they're totally fine with other animals, and it would just be a matter of adjusting. But that's pretty easy to do. And then in regards to people, maybe older children that are a little quieter and can be patient. But in general, a normal home, but maybe a little on the quiet side.
Yeah. And they were a little bit shy when we first met them, but they warmed up pretty quickly. So maybe somebody that understands that it's going to take just a little bit of time, but then they'll be their best buddies.
Yeah, somebody who's patient, and that's really all it takes. They just need a little bit of time, and cats are kind of like that. They want to figure out their space. They want to find a safe place, and then once they have that, then they start to show you really who they are.
Yeah. And what's your favorite thing about them?
Well, I really like how quickly they do warm up, even for being shy and having had such challenges in their lives. But I kind of like how they're what's the word? I can't think of it.
How they complement each other?
Yes, how they complement each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, they kind of like together, one whole cat, but
Yeah.
in two different bodies.
Well, and it's neat because they're sisters, but they're so different. You have one who's sleek and outgoing, and one who's more longer haired and has the white ticking on her fur, and she's a little bit shyer, but still wants to explore and see what's going on.
Yeah, and this is often why we do adopt out cats in pairs, is that one really wouldn't do well on their own. And so, you know, sometimes I think people think that we're just trying to force people to adopt two cats, and it's really, there are very good reasons for it, and this is a good example of that Tia could be fine on her own, but Tamara wouldn't do so well. So we keep them together, and that really makes your job easier as an adopter. It also prevents the single kitten syndrome, which can happen when kittens don't have each other to play with, and then they start to play with you and they play too rough because they don't know what it's like. So that's something to keep in mind when adopting kittens, because they, my alarm's going off, I feel terrible. But yeah, so when people say, you know, it's better to adopt two kittens, that really is the truth. We're not making that up.
And you're just advocating for the best situation for the kittens. And I can say from personal experience, because my family adopted a kitten who did have single kitten syndrome, and thanks to her feline siblings, she became a really sweet and social cat. But sometimes they really need that other feline presence to bring that out in them.
Yes, and you know, I've seen different people give bad reviews, or you know, just complain about organizations when they are doing this two kitten thing, and it never fails really that people come to us later, and 6 to 9 months later, and they want a companion for their cat, and we're like, it would have just been a little easier if you just did it when you started. And so we really try to tell people, like, look, this is what's going to happen, and if you don't have another animal in the home or whatever, you're going to have to play with this cat like
constantly,
you know, like a dog. And they're going to get rough, and it's going to be a little different than you think. So really think about it, and two is usually better when it comes to cats. Not the same for dogs though. Two puppies, no.
Well, and watching these two run around, I mean, the internal dialogue that I'm kind of creating for them is Tia going, "Hey Tamara, come check this out. Come on, it's okay, come check it out." I mean, it seems like they really do feed off of each other, and that's so important for kittens of this age to have somebody else that they can do that with.
Yes, definitely. I mean, they're going to be very entertaining, but they'll also keep each other entertained, so that makes your job a lot easier.
Yeah. So do you think there's anything else that anybody needs to know about these two? I'm watching you have a little rescue dog in here, and Tia's going, "Hey, who's that?" She's just very curious about who that little dog is, and is it even a dog? 'Cause she's more like a stuffed animal. But no, I think they would make a great set of companion cats for a family who, you know, wants to have a little bit of action and activity, and maybe not needing so much snuggle lap time. Well, and they're friendly enough. I suspect that once they get a little bit older, they'll probably be a little bit more snuggly, because they don't mind getting picked up or pet. It just takes a little bit of time, and it's more on their own terms, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love how adventurous they are.
Yes, they are very, very adventurous. I imagine you'll have to hide some of your cords and toys. And, I don't know. They're going to be all over the place.
So if somebody sees this segment and they want to have some black cats in their life, how do they reach out to Motley Zoo?
You can reach us via our website at motleyzoo.org. And we have an adopt tab there where you can look at all the animals that we have for adoption. And you can also click there to get an application. Or feel free to email us at adopt@motleyzoo.org. And that way we can get you an application or answer any questions that you might have.
Wonderful. And then I'm sure people have noticed that we're both wearing masks. Do you have any other special COVID precautions in place?
We've been masking this whole time, and you know, we're not totally 6 feet apart, but we're social distancing, and you know, giving everybody some space. The facility's plenty big enough to allow that, and just know that everything is by appointment. We're working to make sure that it's a good fit before you even meet the animal. That way
Right.
you're not spending time meeting animals that aren't going to work for you.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for taking some time with us this morning and letting us get to know Tia and Tamara. And here's to hoping that somebody sees their segment and they fall in love with these beautiful girls.
Yes, they are definitely worth it.
All right. Good luck, Tia and Tamara. And this has been Tracy with the Limelight Pet Project, and we shine the light on harder to adopt pets because their stories are worth telling.